You alright boys? Welcome back to another Ableton tutorial. This is kind of a follow-on from the basics thing, just going more in detail with compression in specific. I'm going to go over what compression is, how to use it, and then how sidechaining works, which is part of compression, kind of. So compression is essentially lowering the general audio, well, compressing the range of volumes, so either lowering the maximum volume to coincide with lower volumes or raising lower volume sounds to be more in line with higher volume sound, if that makes sense. So I've gone and made a drum loop and then just like one of these, just so that it kind of, you get a general gist of how it works and what it does. I'm just going to play the drum loop because I want to go over kind of making quiet sounds loud, and then I'll go into sidechaining. There'll be timestamps in the thing in the box below. Either way, this is what it sounds like without and with. No difference. If we lower the threshold a bit, it will then kind of start maxing it all out. I'm going to go into the other view because I find that this is a better visualization. So you can see when it kind of peaks and when it hits and such. Now, because the ratio is all the way down, nothing as far as compression is going to happen. If we turn it all the way up, though, it's actually kind of harder to see with that view. You can see here, it dips, whereas before, it stayed at the top. Yeah, so that's kind of showing how that is, and you can put attack on it, so it means that you have to have like louder noises and things. And you can kind of do release stuff. So if you have your release all the way up and then you lower it, everything becomes quieter. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, you play around with it. It's the main use for it that I've found. If you have consistent enough audio, so if you're working with MIDI rather than samples, the most kind of helpful way that you'd use it would be sidechaining. So you'd drop, I'll just show you with a fresh compressor. So you drop a compressor on it, you'd hit this little down arrow, you'd hit sidechain, audio from usually a drum rack. What you can do is you can make groups for your kick and your snare, because it's mainly the kick and snare which you're after. So if you wanted to do that, you just select the two of them and hit Control G, then you've got a drum rack for your kick and your snare. And you can then go into where it says post effects, you can change that to drum rack, to say drum rack, pre or post effects or post mixer, whatever you're after. So pre effects would be before any effects are applied. So if you've got like reverb or whatever, post effects would be with the reverb applied, and then post mixer, that'd probably be to do with something. Not really sure, in all honesty, not really sure at all. But either way, I always just put it on the bottom one or the top one if I have a reason to put it on the top one. Generally, I turn the attack all the way down, the ratio all the way up, and then the release to around 200. Threshold I usually have at around -18. This is quite a harsh sounding effect. Oh yeah, and you'll want to kind of generally just put compressor straight onto your like piano sound or your pad sound or whatever you're going for really. You may want to put attack on it if you're trying to sidechain like a pad going into like a sweep or something. I didn't even know you could sidechain something like that. But yeah, so I'll get you guys to listen to this. It's not really that noticeable, so I'm just going to turn this up just so you can notice it a bit more. So essentially the volume of the drums is altering how much of the how much volume the piano is going to output. So if I turn this all the way down and then put that on like here, you can hear quite how much it is. Usually, well, you just leave your ratio however you want it really. If you put your ratio to kind of standard and add it minimal. Just kind of, I mean, the ratio and then the threshold pretty much seem to do the same thing. From my experience, they seem to do the same thing. The difference between peaking and then RMS and expanding I'll go over now. So peaking is kind of where you've got, well, it's easier when it's playing, so it dips it where the peaks are, whereas RMS is relative volume, so it kind of, if you had like a melody playing at the same time as like a piano roll or something, you may want to use RMS because then it would take volume into consideration rather than the peaks. So it's always bottoming out when you're on peak, and then on RMS it's volume sensitive rather than just sensitive to the peaks. Expand kind of does the opposite. I'm going to turn the threshold up a bit. It makes it louder. So if you want it, you can't really see it too well, but I'll zoom in on that. Or if I do the ratio, or even, you can see when it kicks, it makes it louder, and then that will fade out, so that's helpful for other things as well. Then you've got your dry wet, which is how much of it is active. Yeah, so generally that's just how it works. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it educational and helpful. Teaching you guys about compression is pretty simple but quite helpful. If you want to head over and subscribe to my YouTube channel, that'd be cool. If this was helpful, leave a like, helps out. My SoundCloud and Instagram and that are in the description if you want to head over there. If not, then fair enough. Have a good day. In a bit.